Hello, my loves. Well, earlier today when I was reading to you guys, I finished my Mr. McGee series, and I had mentioned that I would love to find more books written by Chris Van Dusen, or even illustrated by him. And I was up in my pile of books that I brought home from school, and lo and behold, I actually do own another book that was written and illustrated by Chris Van Dusen. I'd forgotten all about it. And I don't know how I could, because it brings together two of my most favorite things, Chris Van Dusen books and baseball. This book is called Randy Riley's Really Big Hit. And again, you only see Chris Van Dusen's name at the bottom because we talked about how super uber talented he is, and he does it all. He writes the words, writes the story, and he illustrates the pictures. So get ready for another great story by Chris Van Dusen. Now look at this picture. You know I'm already in love with this book. Randy Riley stood at bat. He gazed at the mound. His knees began to tremble and his heart began to pound. Then Randy started thinking about the pitcher's throw. He wondered, without gravity, how far the ball would go. And as he stood there pondering, which means thinking, strike three went whizzing by. "You're out," he heard the umpire call, then walked off with a sigh. Now when he's playing baseball, he's getting distracted by science. Do you think he's a scientist that wants to be a baseball player? Or is he a baseball player that wants to be a scientist? Either way, so super cool. See, Randy was a genius. He just couldn't hit the ball. He struck out every time at bat. He wasn't good at all. But something beyond baseball brought a smile to Randy's face. What Randy Riley really loved was stuff from outer space. He studied all the planets. He memorized their tilt. He researched how the thrusters on the rocket ships were built. He knew the constellations and the light years to the stars. And wouldn't it be great, he thought, to ride a bike on Mars? That would be pretty cool. When Randy Riley got back home, he went up to his room. He knew he stunk at baseball, and it filled his heart with gloom. So he took his favorite robots from the shelf above his bed and staged a game of baseball with his robot team instead. Love it. Poor Randy Riley. He's feeling pretty down on himself. That night before he went to sleep, Randy scanned the sky. And through his Spaceboy telescope, a glimmer caught his eye. He fiddled with the focus till he saw it crystal clear. It was a massive fireball, and it was coming near. Alarmed, he started plotting the projection of its path. He formulated diagrams. He double-checked his math. Math. Important in science. He calculated quickly and concluded with a frown. In 19 days, the fireball would crash into his town. How would you feel if you got news like that? I can think of a lot of different feelings. Randy Riley flew downstairs to warn his mom and dad. The impact would be major and the damage would be bad. He explained the situation until his face was red, but they told him he was just tired, and they sent him off to bed. So did his parents believe him that a fireball was coming to his town? Nope. They just continued on Mom's knitting, Dad's reading the paper. They're like, we're not too concerned. But Randy Riley was. Poor Randy couldn't sleep at all. He thought the whole night through. By morning it was obvious just what he had to do. He gathered what he needed with determined resolution and lugged it off behind the shed to work on his solution. So there's a problem, which is a fireball coming directly going to impact his town. So he's coming up with a solution, a way to solve the problem. And he's not waiting for anyone else to do it. He's going to take that job on himself. I think I really like Randy Riley. Randy toiled for 18 days while other kids had fun. When you toil at something, you think about it, you work on it, it kind of never leaves your mind. It's always there. But he was on a mission, so he worked till he was done. At breakfast on the 19th day, the news announcer said, "This is a special bulletin. Emergency, emergency, code red. A fireball's approaching. It just flew past the moon. It's coming fast, so be prepared, for it will hit by noon." Look at the look on Mom's face. And Dad is so surprised and shocked, he's spitting out his coffee. Look at Randy's face. He's just eating his cereal. Not shocked at all. He already warned them this was going to happen, but they didn't believe him. Everybody burst outside as fear and panic grew, but Randy ran back to the shed. He had a job to do. He grabbed the tarp and gave a tug. It slid off to reveal the mighty mammoth robot man he'd welded out of steel. The robot needed power, and Randy knew precisely that 97 batteries would energize it nicely. The eyes lit up, the engine whirred. Step 1 was now complete. So far, so good, thought Randy. Then they thundered down the street. Some of you guys were making things like that out of Legos in the classroom, which were super cool, and out of the Magnetiles. How could you create a robot at home with things you have around the house? That might be a really neat experiment or craft activity. Really cool. Step 2 of Randy's mission took place just south of town, in a section known as Millville, where he slowed the robot down. The robot ripped the smokestack off an old abandoned mill. Then Randy turned the throttle knob to march him up that hill. Back in town, the people were as frightened as could be, but Randy knew the time had come for critical step 3. The robot burst out through the trees, stepped up, and took a stance, while everyone fell silent as if frozen in a trance. Randy's eye was on the ball. No room for error now. 3, 2, 1, and flip the switch. A swoosh, and then kapow! A blinding flash, a booming crash. He knew what he had done. Randy Riley had a hit, his very first home run. Kapow, flash, crash. Those are more onomatopoeia words that we heard earlier when we were reading other Chris Van Dusen stories. Remember, onomatopoeia words are words that take on the sound associated with it. So cool. Oh my goodness. The fireball sailed out of sight. A rousing cheer began. Hooray for Randy Riley and his giant metal man! And as the crowd went crazy, Randy stood there with a grin and mumbled, "How predictable. a fastball low and in. Predictable means you know it's coming, right? Something's predictable. When things returned to normal, after Randy saved the day, he went back to the baseball field to join his friends to play. And though he swings in earnest, he rarely hits the ball. But that's okay, because Randy's had the biggest hit of all. His robot's playing either he's on second base or he's playing outfield behind second base. I love it. The end. Guys, I have to say, that's definitely one of my favorite stories for so many reasons. The illustrations, the story itself, how Randy Riley loved baseball, and even though he wasn't great at it, he loved it so much, he just enjoyed it and kept on playing and working hard in hopes that he got better. But he didn't let it get him too down, and he just wanted to play with his friends and have fun. And I love that part of the story because it just goes to show you don't have to be awesome at everything to enjoy it. You know, some things you can just do for fun with your friends and have a great time. So I hope you love that book. I'm so glad I found it and got to share it with you guys. Maybe if I keep digging more, I'll find another book by Chris Van Dusen. I sure hope so. See you later.